point. Do you think the Speaker can yield to this call and hope to survive the Parliament?
Well, I think we are seeing the benefits of democracy in full display, where different opinions are being expressed and people with certain constitutional and democratic rights are exercising them. So in Parliament, I think what the minority is doing, of course, is part of the democratic process. And I agree with my brother when he says that what is happening would contribute to the resilience of our democracy. As we speak now, we don't have a substantive CJ. The President has a responsibility. Once the committee was set up and the committee's recommendations were made, and the President decided that, well, he's going to act, or the Constitution actually binds the President to act on the basis of the recommendations of the committee. And once those decisions were made, I mean, as we sit now, Justice Gertrude Tokonu is a former CJ. She is no longer the CJ. And I think that it would be quite negligent on the part of the President to say that even though there is no CJ, I'm not going to roll out the process to having a substantive CJ in place. And I would wonder why Parliament would say, well, even though we don't have a substantive CJ, the President, who has the constitutional mandate to nominate a CJ, has done so, but because there are processes in court, even though those processes were there, some of those processes were there even before the President acted, we are going to yield to a demand that we should hold on to the processes until decisions are made.
So are we... That after her removal, before her removal, there were suits that were pending.
Yes.
Of course, she sought injunctions. She didn't succeed. There were some suits that she didn't mount herself. The MFWA suit is still pending. The one that went to the ECOWAS court by herself is also pending. And yes, the injunctions that those others sought failed. But after her removal, she instituted another process in the High Court. After her removal? Yes. Mm-hmm. She instituted another process in the High Court, and she's asking for three things. That the Poaman Committee's proceedings and recommendations should be quashed. That the President's warrant, which he issued on the back of that, the recommendations, should also be quashed, thrown away. And that there should be a prohibition against the appointment of a new CJ. Her salaries and benefits should also be restored. So they are saying this is a substantive suit. Even though in the suit, she doesn't say restore me. She says restore my salaries and quash every other thing. Mm-hmm. Hold on. What's the hurry? No, I think, so that is why when you were reading, I reiterated the point that after her removal. And I believe, even though I'm not a lawyer, that these processes that she's mounted could have been mounted by anyone at all. To say that I am, based on my own understanding and review, I am demanding that the Justice Poaman Committee's report should be quashed, the President's action should be, quashed, and, the benefits and salaries of the former CJ must be reinstated. And for me, I don't have a problem with that. Whether it's a process that she's initiated herself or someone else feels, well, what had happened amounted to injustice and therefore the person decided to go to court. But I don't think that should stop us from having a substantive CJ. I agree with my brother. The role of the judiciary is so critical. And I get worried. That's why I get worried when people in politics decide to put out narratives that would further undermine the independence, the reputation, the public perception of our judiciary. Because a lot of the things that, my brother was talking about did happen under the MPP regime. Would it have been right for us to conclude that President Akufo-Addo actually appointed 2 Chief Justices or so? 3, actually, if I'm not mistaken. The first one was Justice Akufu.
then Niyeboah, and then the last one was this. Are we saying those were her CJs, as she would put it, as, you know, Mahama nominating Justice Bafuboni as being his CJ?
You know,
those CJs came to their terminal end.
Naturally.
Naturally.
Yeah, absolutely. But, you know, if you look at even the appointment of Justice Tokonu, people would say, oh, they were seniors, they were this, they were that. The fact that those were jumped, would it be right for anyone to then conclude that, okay, that was a Akufo-Addo's CJ?
For a long time now, the seniority rule has not been followed. So presidents appoint among the judges on the bench without saying you are the most senior, so you become. No. Even though the law says, in the absence of the Chief Justice, the next most senior assumes.
Yes, I agree with you, but I'm saying that with all that, I don't think that it gives cause for us to say, oh, the president's CJ. And that is why I think you were right when you asked about the case of Charlotte versus G. Mensah. Would it have been right for us to say that G. Mensah has been chosen as President Akufo-Addo's, you know, his choice or his electoral commissioner? I think the processes are the same, even though you say, well, in terms of ranking, you wouldn't put the the Supreme Court at the same level as the Electoral Commission. But if you look at the role that the Electoral Commission plays, you know, the commission determines who becomes president, virtually, even though people would go, yes, Ghanaians do, but ultimately the responsibility, because if you are taking it that way, you would say, in terms of decisions that are made by the courts, it is not the people, it's the law. The Supreme Court justices interpret the Constitution, you know, and so yes, Ghanaians would make the determination, but why would
Chief
people...
Justice is not head of Supreme Court.
Yes.
He's head of the judiciary.
Yes.
That is an arm of government.
Yes.
The EC is an independent constitutional body. It's not an arm of government.
Yes, but in terms of removal processes, something is the same.
That's correct.
It is the same. So if it was done, and we feel...
Almost the same.
Yeah, almost the same.
Even the regulations and conditions of service are almost...
So if it was done...
Almost the same.
I think it's High Court. It
was done. I believe at that time people had issues with the way Charlotte was removed and all of that. Yes, but as a country, I think we have to move on. ECOWAS courts. I think that from what I know of the ECOWAS court processes, we've used it a couple of times. We are looking at maybe the next 2 years or 3 years. Are we going to say that, okay, let's let it hang until that happens? We saw the case of Domelevo. People filed a case at the Supreme Court. You know, eventually the Supreme Court actually made a decision that, you know, indicated that the decision that was made by the president was absolutely wrong. But it had happened. So I honestly don't think that the Speaker is going to yield to this request, and I don't think that it should be yielded to. But as I said, we are seeing the benefits of democracy in full display, and I fully support that.
Prof.
You know,